few weeks after her passing. Her passing was made far worse, of course, due to the dreaded COVID, and her funeral was limited to only 10 people, and we couldn't get together afterwards, so here we are finally together. Thank you for coming. In actual fact, Mum had already left us some time before her passing due to awful dementia. So in a way, it's like we lost her twice on the 19th of April 2020. Mum did reach her official 90th birthday, but in reality she was actually 91 on the 11th of April 2020, 8 days before she died. So rather than dwell on the sad times, I would like to look back and share with you some fond memories of Mum. Never backward in coming forward, Mum was outspoken, strong, didn't take prisoners. She was protective like a lioness if anyone threatened her breed. A trait I feel I inherited from Mum, which has got me into trouble over the years with bosses. That's for sure. Mum's colourful use of the English language was often funny, but always very poignant. You don't mess with Mum. Dad knew this very well. Mum and her beloved sisters Rita and Iris were 60s fashionistas. Miniskirts, white boots, all three having the same hairstyle up in a bun, all three blonde, and then all three brunette. Mum was a very curvaceous and bubbly woman. Dad was always smiling. Mum was a doer. She would make her mind up about doing something, sometimes at Dad's dismay. Then, I want to decorate the lounge. And that was it, all stripped, mostly done by Mum. Once she even decorated twice, she didn't like it first time. Looking back and knowing how hard working both Mum and Dad were, even though we didn't have money, I can remember that whatever, we always had a 2-week holiday in a caravan, usually Weymouth for painting. A big turning point was when Mum and Dad bought the first caravan at Sandy Glades in Breen. As a young boy, every weekend was an adventure, and we loved growing up holidaying in our very own caravan. Some years later, Mum had sold the caravan at Sandy Glade and bought a caravan at Northern Farm. And her beloved sisters joined, with Auntie Rita, Uncle Cliff buying a caravan, backing onto Mum's. Uncle Aaron and Auntie Iris also had a touring caravan on a static pitch. By this time, Nick and Faye were 2 little girls, loving caravan life, as indeed I did some years earlier. They both so looked forward to spending most of the school holidays with Mum and Dad, along with their close cousins Becky and Scott, at the caravan. Sue and myself will pop down on a weekend to see them all so happy, and they never wanted to leave. Both Nick and Faye had such fond and happy memories there, but it was also, of course, at the caravan that Dave met and fell in love with Lou.
Girl next door.
Yeah.
Such happy days. Mum was a dog lover and bred poodles for a while, so we were used to having dogs around when we were living at Wardour Road, North West. However, after a while, without a dog, Mum did the most amazing thing and bought a monkey.
Joey.
Sure enough, we must have been the only family in North West with a pet monkey. Dad converted half the kitchen into a monkey cage. Joey, the monkey, was a very small, fragile monkey that went bonkers if you tried picking him up under the arms, biting whoever picked him up. He made me a bit robbed. And after several visits to the doctors, Mum was forced to sell her beloved Joey. Talking about how protective Mum was over us, one funny story comes to mind. As a 15-year-old boy, I went to Hartcliffe with my best mate Dixie and a couple of girls. We cut through Stony Bridge Lane and met with some friends. It was a balmy summer's evening, and not completely dark, and it was a lovely bright moon. On the way back, about halfway through the lane, we saw a Mr. Whippy ice cream van parked up, which we thought was a bit strange. It was only when we got closer that we noticed there was a couple inside making some strange noises. We laughed and we banged on the van, but the man decided to chase us. And me and Dixie hid in the bushes, laughing our heads off. About 11 o'clock, there was a knock at the front door. I answered the door and was confronted by a man, a woman, and Mr. Whippy parked across the road. Almost immediately upon opening the door, Mum shouts, "Who's that?" I was out there in a flash, in her usual direct way, demanding to know what's going on. The man explained he was a police officer on a stakeout and accused Dixie and me of stealing wafers, which of course was totally untrue. Apparently, he caught the two girls and they gave my address. I denied this allegation, deep down just laughing. Dad marched us round to the girls' house and he was not happy at all. So eventually we told Dad what was actually happened and that Mr. Whippy was not so much on a stakeout, but a stake in. Dad came close to me and Mr. Whippy walked forward. From this experience, my mate Dixie came out with what was the funniest ever comments that was well remembered by all the family for years. Dad often recalling it over a pint. Dixie turned to the guy and said, "Well, what's going to do about it, bloke?"
Yeah.
Mr. Whippy's mistake was telling Mum his name, and that he was on a stakeout, not actually knowing she worked at Broadway Road Police Station. And as the lioness protecting her breed, Mum was straight in to see the superintendent the very next morning. He told her that Mr. Whippy was actually a police special and not an official police duty. He was sacked that day. Good old Mum. Another funny comment I recall from Mum that still makes me and Rich laugh was upon learning that I was seeing a Filipino lady, she immediately asked with a big smile, "Yeah, she got slitty eyes." And when am I going to meet her? Grinning widely.
Chinese.
That was Mum. Direct, passionate, funny, colourful, and to the point, but always with a warm and generous heart, unless you cross swords with it. Mum was a very hard-working, loving wife, daughter, sister, mother, doting, generous grandmother and great-grandmother, and of course auntie to Linda, who she was very close to. Unfortunately, this love was not reciprocated by some grandchildren who turned their backs on her during the last few years. This really hurt Mum, but they know who they are, and it's with them and their consciences. I just want to finish by thanking Mum, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Mum.
Beautiful.
God bless. Yeah?
Well, Mike really said it all with his opening talk. There is a couple of funny stories with Mum, and she's known as Rocky because I pulled into a car park at Costco's, and I pulled into a disabled bay, which we were entitled to because she had a blue badge. And then a bloke pulled across in front of me. He said, "I was waiting for that spot." I said, "Well, what were you waiting?" He said, "I was right over there." I said, "Well, how do I know that?"
Take video all around.
He said, "I could block you in." I said, "Do what you like." Mum got out with her walking and said, "Go on, I want it, you're going to stick." Rocky. Yeah.
I was there, Robert.
Yeah, you were there, weren't you? Yeah, you were. You could stop laughing. Come on, Auntie G, come on, Auntie G. Yeah, so she loved all us kids, she loved the grandchildren, and Nicky and Faye was down the caravan all the summer. And I won't say anything about pinching her cigarettes and I won't mention that. Well, it was only one or two, okay. But she loved her knitting. She was quite talented. As you know, you've got the blankets that she's knitting and everything. A lot of the time she didn't use patterns, just did it out of her head. And she was very talented. She taught me to whoopee. So I picked it up from her. And when I used to say to her, when I was working for myself, and she used to buy these magazines, home improvements, she'd come up with a new one every week. I'd say, you've got to stop buying them, you've got to stop buying them. Oh, I want this done, I want that done. In the end, I stopped buying them. Just couldn't do it. And Dad didn't like the noise, any mess. But as soon as they moved into that house, I had to knock a wall down straight away. Right, that one's gone, plastered up. Oh, what's that wall out there? Oh, we can't, the house is going to fall down. He'd say, no, we can't have that. It was done. Mum wanted it done, it was done. So, yeah, and, well, there we are. I had another funny story, but it's gone. I didn't write it down like I did. Not been working in an office. Sat at a computer all day. Yeah, so all in all, well, she was a good mother to us. We liked it. Yeah. And Joey the monkey, he did bite me. And how he bit me was, I used to catch the first bus in the morning with your dad, Steve, to go to Brooks's. And I just let him out of the cage, I'm feeding him some grapes, and right, oh, time to go. Come on, Joey. And as I picked him up by his hands, all over me. I've got to change now to another uniform, and I got E back in his cage. So I'm chasing him around the kitchen. Come here. He nipped me on the hand. Oh, I got that left now. I had to go and run out and catch the bus. First Steve said, you're late. I said, I know, the bloody monkey bit me. So then I comes home on the evening, my hand is up like a boxing glove. So I stops in the clinic then where we lived up north, goes into the doctor, and the doctor's surgery, you had chairs going all the way round, so when the next one went in, you all moved round the chair, and the doctor talked so loud, everybody knew what everybody had. So when I went in, I said, I've been bit. He said, what about a cat, dog? I said, no, a monkey. He said, you get rid of that monkey? He said, the worst thing you can have. Well, what about my hand? Right, so I have 2 injections a day then for that. Anti-rabies, I think it was, or something, or green monkey disease might have been, I don't know. But yeah, so she had to get rid of the monkey, and David broke his heart. And we got rid of him, down Pet's Paradise. They didn't want it. Some bloke came in, he said, well, I'll buy it. You don't bite, do you? No. Dave putting in the car. Shut the door. But anyway, so that's my little eulogy to Mum. So there we are. God bless Mum.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like to say exactly the same as what Rob said about Mum. I know growing up with kids, it was fantastic. Couldn't have better. We all say that about our mums, but we did. Had the best mum in the world. And looking back, I often said, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't go without. We never went out without good food, clothes, like our mate said, lovely holidays. And I always regard us of being peasant millionaires. And I think that was fantastic what Mum and Dad did. I'm not going to talk to you, but one little story. I don't know if you know about things like this, but when we was kids, we always kids cover your ears up. When you're kids, you don't think about your mum and dad having carnival knowledge.
Carnival
Well, anyway, I was exactly the same. Exactly the same. And when I was about, I suppose I was about, well, I was a teenager, so I must have been about 14. And you know what 14-year-old boys is like. Anyway, there was a book, was on holiday, and there was a book, right? And it was an adult book, right? Of what you get up to in the privacy of your own bedroom, right? And it was position, right? So I thought, I'm having that. So, right? Couldn't wait to get home, right? Bear in mind, I'm 14, right? So gets home, and I reads the book. Well, I looked at the book, and when I finished, I thought, what do I do with it? I'll put it under my pillow. Right, so I put it under my pillow.
Took Ferry took it.
Next best thing. Goes back there the next night, it's gone. Where was it gone? I thought, Mike, you might have had a note. and then, well, where could it be? So I started searching, I thought, go to our mother's room. And there it was, under the pillow. Under the pillow. I thought, what's that, mum and dad? I thought, anyway, so I took it back in, put it where it belonged, under my pillow. About a week after, it's gone again. Where do I find it? Under mum's bedroom, under her pillow. Right? So I had it back. And do you know what, that book, I don't know how many times it swapped, but not a word was spoken. So I thought, well, card of a knowledge, mums and dads.